All right, everybody,
Hello.
welcome back to Sunday Tea Book finale. Oh my gosh.
Of season 2.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
forever.
like the global finale for
No.
all time. Joseph Burton, welcome.
Hello.
Greg, Cyrus, hello there. Welcome, everybody. Let me turn up my screen brightness so I can see your comments better.
That's better.
Holy crow, this is episode 12 in season 2. We're going to wrap up the classic of tea today, which is kind of hard to believe. This has been an epic undertaking. Again, hey A2Easy, welcome, and welcome everybody on Instagram. Instagram people go to YouTube, I'll tell you that over and over. This has been an epic undertaking, okay? Not so much by me, but by Jen. I'm going to brag about you for a while, so blush as necessary or whatever. The classic of tea, you know, if you saw the preview or the warm-up videos that we put on our YouTube channel, this is a Tang Dynasty 1200-year-old document, so ancient Chinese. I'll let you talk about where we got the document we actually used, which helped a lot. It would have been impossible without this document, you know, because ancient Chinese is just like ancient English. I could not get you an original Beowulf and translate it. There would be no hope that would work. Similarly here. Anyway, great work, exhausting, but super rewarding. A really great resource. It will be on our website. The last chapters we're covering today, which is 4 chapters, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7, 8, on the website. If you go to the finale link, then you will find links there, or you can dig around on the Sunday Tea Book page and find them. Today, and also for tea trivia time, Instagram folks, go to YouTube or you're going to miss tea trivia. For tea trivia time, it might help if you have a little review of the pages. Just follow along and have some fun. Holy cow, we are...
And today we're going to have some specialty to go with that.
Today...
You're so perfect for emoji.
Today is an amazing tea. Oh my gosh, I'm so stoked. So if you watched the pre-roll and you saw the Tianjian thing, I just didn't have time. Okay, I did lots of other... You'll see if Instagram, you go to YouTube people, you'll see lots of cool stuff today. Tell them about tea. Oh my gosh, I'm stoked. I can see it there. I don't. Oh, hang on. See, Instagram people, you won't get the close up like the YouTube people will.
Fancy transitions.
Look at this. Look at this.
We also. This is a little bit
guys on Instagram. YouTube's got a beautiful close up. Look at that red-brown leaf.
It's a ZhenTea Puerh gifted by Wu Juenong's son, Mr. Wu Jiaxuan. And
okay, so Instagram can't see the color yet, so just show Instagram the color, because it's a ZhenTea Puerh.
A little bit.
Oh my gosh, so I don't even want to know how old this is, because it's red-brown. It's reddish brown.
It's before the 1989. We don't know the specific year, we only know it's before 1989.
Oh boy.
And it was gifted a small serving, and this is a small serving of the small serving. So yeah, I'm gonna use a super tiny, if you can reference with my hand, a super tiny little guy one to brew, but it's
Instagram people,
really
you've got to
well
go to YouTube
aged.
to see that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the super cutest guy in the world with oh my gosh, I'm pretty
right?
excited.
And if you don't know what's the importance of why we forgot about this, besides it's super old, super aged, it's also gifted by the son of the gentleman who wrote the tea, which I use as a reference, like a strong reference. And actually, I think season 2 is talk about the classic tea and the classic of tea, and also almost like my learning notes as well. That from this book, it's such a well-written, well-studied, well peer-reviewed book that I personally learned a lot from it, and I hope by sharing some of the notes from the book, you guys also benefit some. I mean, besides just the classic, also bring some, insight to the importance of how the ancient work could be valued. This knowledge of tea.
Yeah.
And it's called the Cha Jin Ping Shu, Wu Juenong, who is the founding father of China's modern tea industry. And it's so precious to read a good book. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, you have lots of books that is yeah.
You've got a report of audio cutout. So, if you're also experiencing that, or just a for Greg,
Okay.
While we figure out that, I think everything's good.
I had a
looks
look.
good.
It looks good.
So, mic check there. 1, 2. No, but just wanted to say about the book.
I'm gonna get you broom.
Yeah,
because
you can get to brewing. I just wanted to say about the ancient text
You
about.
want to change the screen of the.
Oh, let's do it.
I think for YouTube it would be.
Yeah, it's nice to see YouTube gets to see the brewing live. Thanks for the reminder. But you would
Especially
think,
the
ancient text might be just full of like contextual information of tea and how they looked at it. There's actually I have to say, a fairly shocking amount of practical information. You know, just about observing water boil. Okay.
Audio.
Okay. I guess, Greg, it might be a problem on your end. Not hopefully. I hope your problems are quickly resolved. I'm glad to hear.
Could be like internet.
2.
Oh,
Okay, well, hopefully it stabilizes. Let us know if it deteriorates. Everything seems to be good here.
Okay.
Oh, it'd be right back. I think it's just you, Greg, because Joseph also said
Does
it was him. But
Does it worth it to like plug it and unplug?
No, I'm terrified of doing stuff like that when we're live. Anyway, like I was saying, the book has pretty practical information. You know, it's not the same kind of tea, so the brewing tips might not work, but how to observe water, just the fact that that's the can kind of remind us to take a minute instead of waiting till the kettle says it's done and observe the water boil. Okay, one moment. I knew this was going to happen. It's going to get very quiet in here, and I might even cry. It's got like
it's unmistakable.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Age, sort of like a papyrusy antique wood.
With that sweetness in it. A little bit of the sweetness. Not moldy smell, okay? Not moldy smell. I noticed a lot of people mistake the moldy smell of tea as age. That's not the same. Anyway. Steel!
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Tech support. Call for tech support. I'm gonna get you. I'm a little bit excited.
Yeah, let's just brew, and hopefully the cutouts will diminish or disappear. Let me get on with the cool stuff I talk about while she gets brewing. I'm so excited to sip this tea.
And look at the color. This is the rings, huh?
Oh,
this is rings.
So what is just show Instagram the rings. This is just
sorry, I forgot. So this is on.
Wow, look at that color. Just a reminder that it's a Aged Puerh. Okay. So what is Sunday Tea Book and why do we do this? On our website and the links down below on YouTube, you will see links to all of the translations that we did for this book. It's different than any aged smell, right? It has a different character.
Because it's aged shen.
Aged shen, sorry. Different than any aged shen. But it's leaning into the Banyan memories. This is amazing.
Yeah, like if you ask me to describe, I would say like a smoky, I would say woody, but if you ask me to compare with like a Tianjin, which is in the nose, I will also use like a smoky and woody, but they're not the same.
The fusion the fusion of those elements is so high. I would almost say everything's elusive. Nothing's popping out. No smoke, no wood, no papyrus, no antique library paper. All of those are there, but they're so combined that they're elusive. It's just, and the sweetness is there.
And just a little bit is heartwarming.
Boy, this is going to be hard. Okay, what is Sunday Tea Book, right? So why don't we just
get through this part?
Sunday Tea Book is where Jen and I look at a book, paper, or a journal, and we either translate it, or if the translation exists, we kind of upgrade it and take out any confusion. These book, papers, and articles are packed with great information about Chinese tea and its culture, just like the Classic of Tea, of course, was. And you might wonder, well, why don't you just post the translation and have a web post like everybody else? And the reason is because over the years working with Jen on the translation, I've learned so much through working through it with her that cannot really be easily transcribed onto the page. So we decided to do the translations live and post it on our website in the link down below for you guys to have as resources for time immemorial, or at least until the internet explodes.
What kind of comment is that?
Gotta remember tea
This is not a
instructions.
Aged Puerh color, huh? This is a ZhenTea color. And I don't know if you can see that well, but in real life the texture is really showing when I pour, and also the radiance of the liquor.
Yeah, that is something. So I will. Wow. So that
Then
is.
the smell has a little bit tartness. Meaning, like, you know how the dried fruit would have that tartness? So that's what I was like.
The slightest hint, right? A balancing hint.
See you later, Joseph.
Oh.
Don't be shy to slurp, okay? When you have a really good tea, slurp. We have to slurp to encourage
Viscous.
the viscous.
You two nailed that. It is viscous.
Yes.
If you can see it, yes, we feel it. It is immense.
And when you slurp it, you can feel better about the texture of the tea, right? So yeah, I don't know how that would, how you would hear through the mic because of our
hopefully
slur,
it's not too gross. But I do.
Don't be shy. Okay,
yeah, don't be shy. And I
you
want
have
to
to
encourage folks, if you're wondering about all these words, viscous and texture of the tea, and you think it's like, oh, that's not that. I don't even get it. It's just I totally know where you're coming from. As a sort of relative newbie compared to Jen, actually, I didn't get any of that. So check out a bunch of our videos on how to taste tea and how to appreciate tea. These things have been game changers for me, especially something as simple as how to taste tea. We've got a great video where I shared with you the tips that Jen shared with me that completely revolutionized my ability to appreciate a tea, right? If you're brand new to tea, you don't want to jump in with a tea like this, because it will be lost on you initially. It takes a little bit of practice. It's not hard. Yeah. It just takes really a little bit of paying attention and a little bit of technique. And man.
And breathe out just through the nose.
Yeah. Hold it in your mouth and breathe over the tea. That was a big one for me to really pick up nuance.
Do you think after this community you'll still be able to perform your
tea trivia? My intensity of tea trivia? I don't know, but that's about where we're going to head now so that we can get on with the finale. So I'm going to say goodbye to Instagram. I'm going to grab you guys here. Bye-bye from Jen. Bye-bye from me. I'm going to go back up to this view for the
now I have
YouTube
a better
people.
view of what's
So Instagram, head over to YouTube so you can participate in tea trivia time and the finale of the classic of tea. Bye-bye. Dun, 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 dun. Shared. Okay, that's done. No caption. Goodbye.
Oh. It has a little bit of whiskey smell. Not just the nose.
So strange.
It has a little bit of like
more the grain of the whiskey.
And intense alcohol. Like the smell of intense alcohol. I will be smell all kinds of stuff a lot. Today,
we're going to brew the heck out of that today.
Oh my god!
In the meantime, let's keep things rolling, and we will get on with the show. That's not good.
Huh?
We'll see. Could be one of those episodes full of
issues,
full of fun stuff. We'll see. All right, folks, it is tea trivia time. That's right. Sorry, that's right. It's that time when we get together, we answer a few questions, warm up with some of the content, and just have some fun. You're going to see some questions come up on the board. I'm going to read them, hit the number, hit enter. That's the best way to get your number recorded. Do it as quickly as possible so the computer can record your answer, but in the end, we don't really care. We're just having fun anyway. Let's get started. All right, the topic of Chapter 7 of Lu Yu's The Classic of Tea, one of the chapters we're covering today, is 1. Terroir. Is it 2, politics? Is it 3, industrial process? Or is it 4, history? What is the topic of Chapter 7 of Lu Yu's The Classic of Tea? In the meantime, I'm going to smell this somewhere around 1989.
Earlier.
ZhenTea.
And it was exporting tea to France.
Oh, it was an export tea. Wow. All right, folks, the topic of Chapter 7, Lu Yu's Classic of Tea. Is it 1, terroir, 2, politics, 3, industrial process, or 4, history? All kinds of great guesses rolling in now. Loving it. Loving the guesses. We've got some guesses for 4, 2, and 3. The only one missing is 1. Kelu, welcome to the stream, the finale of the Classic of Tea. I'm going to have an, oh wow, look at that liquor color. This is so sad. I'm going to show them. And the correct answer is, way to go, Boudique. The correct answer is history. Chapter 7 covers history. Nobody guessed terroir. That's chapter 8. Chapter 9 is simplifying, and chapter 10 is pictorialize. Wait till you hear about chapter 10. Industrial process, good guess on that, and good guess on politics. Both great topics for a book on tea, but the correct answer is history, and we'll be diving into that chapter shortly. I know it's super mini, but I'm still going to show you the second infusion. Look at that color. All right. According to Lu Yu, Tang Dynasty tea quality was 1, pretty much homogeneous across all of Tang Dynasty China. Was Tang Dynasty tea quality 2, not relevant. Tea was to be drunk for health. Was Tang Dynasty tea quality number 3, dependent on where the tea was made? Or was Tang Dynasty tea quality number 4, totally dependent on the preparation, the brewer? Ooh, good luck with this one. You can scramble through the notes in the links down below. There's a link to all the chapters we're going to be covering today on the finale page. This is another little preview question, and I see the answers rolling in. Wow, this is crazy. This tea is crazy, guys. We're drinking, for those of you who might have joined late, this is around 1989, early 89?
Earlier than 89.
Sometime earlier than 89. Oh, way to go. 3 out of 4 answers are correct. It is 3, dependent on where the tea was made. Not totally dependent on preparation, but good guess, A2 easy. Way to go, everybody. Wow. All right. Yeah, so sometime before 89, exact time unknown, a Aged Puerh with this kind of color and body. You can kind of see the gold tinge around the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. Here's a little question for those of you who are paying attention to our social media feeds. Our recent excursion, just yesterday and the day before, took us to this part of Ontario. Also, some Canadian geography. Our recent excursion took us to this part of Ontario. Is it 1, Yukon and the Northwest Territories? Is it 2, the Rocky Mountains? Is it 3, Prince Edward County and Amherst Island? Or is it 4, Moosonee? Where were we recently? We even did a little live out in the field, so you can go back onto our YouTube channel and check out that crazy live. Sorry for the long pauses, uncharacteristic of tea trivia time, but this tea really requires that I breathe fully in and out over the liquor while it's in my mouth because it's so good. I'm actually blushing a little bit, getting warm. My temples feel like they're warming up. Whew. Really good tea. So where did our recent excursion? Oh my goodness, God. That is a full sweep. Let me give the winner's call. Way to go, everybody. You guys swept that question. That is indeed right. We were in Prince Edward County and Amherst Island. And by way of geography lesson, the Rocky Mountains are in Alberta and BC provinces, not in Ontario, and Yukon and the Northwest Territory are territories, which are kind of like provinces, but legally different, and they're not in Ontario either. Moosonee is in Ontario. It's up north on James Bay. All right, geography lesson of Canada, over. Next question. According to Lu Yu, 1, we should never enjoy tea in nature, only in a civilized urban setting. 2, tea must be roasted on demand when preparing. 3, in certain settings, we can reduce the number of tea tools required. Or 4, all tea tools must be used at all times or the tea is ruined. According to Lu Yu, which one of those is true? Let me put on some of the waiting mute sounds.
Impatiently waiting sound.
Get your answers in. Time is running out.
This is a thorough ZhenTea, huh?
A what?
It's a full ZhenTea. It's around this time, 70, 80, 90, we have a lot of mix.
Right, okay. That's interesting. All right, good guesses, everybody. Many guessing too that the tea must be roasted on demand when preparing. We'll talk more about that later. But indeed, Greg, you got the right answer. In certain settings, we can reduce the number of tea tools required. Chapter 9, simplify. Nice. I like that. I like that there's an element of simplicity that can be applied. Next infusion in 4 seconds.
Oh, I should have recorded how many infusions I did. This is the 4th.
Yeah, you should keep a little ticker.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Today's tea was gifted to us by who? We've mentioned it many times, so hopefully you'll get this one. But if you don't worry. And if you're not sure, just take a guess. It really doesn't matter. Was it 1, Wu Junong's son? Was it 2, Shenong? Was it 3, Lu Yu's great-great-great-great-great-grandson? Or was it 4, Bai Long? Do you know who Bai Long is? Oh, it's the White Dragon.
I know what it means.
Oh, okay. All right.
that?
Guesses are coming in. I just thought it was a cute one.
Where did you find that?
You know, my normal source of cool answers. The internet. Greg Cyrus said kiss. I don't know why. Oh, keep it simple, I think. Yes, simplicity. We love that. Got it. All right, folks. Last question of tea trivia time before we dive into our Classics of Tea finale. And it looks like there's plenty of guesses. And near sweep, I'm going to give you the winner's signal anyway, because that's awesome. Way to go, Greg. Good enough, Shannon. I think that was a tongue-in-cheek guess. I love it. And if it wasn't, it's still a great guess. I thought you were going to spill the tea. I almost jumped. All right, guys. So that wraps up our season finale tea trivia time on our season finale of the Classic of Tea. Let's see how you guys did as the computer tallies up your score. But just remember, you're all winners in my book. It's all about having fun. Boudique with 4 correct answers tallied by the computer. Way to go. Greg 3, Kelu also 3, and A2 Easy 2 correct answers. You're all winners in my book. This has been awesome. Let's dive into Sunday Tea Book, the Classic of Tea finale. And back to this tea so I can really soak into it a bit. I'm going to steep in this tea.
I wasn't really just enjoying the tea, and when I was smelling this is so like consistent with a little bit of change in terms of the warm smell. And
yeah.
Something, as I was taking out that tea, I found this. 2 Lu Yu tea cake, not identical, but something, you know, we carried this kind of a small size,
nice.
Similar to this size, right?
Yeah.
Several years ago,
Without
we
the hole,
carried
though.
that. Without the hole? I think
It didn't
so.
have the threading hole.
Yeah, but this is more like people trying to duplicate based on the record and doing this kind of a tea cake. So, of course, in terms
so
of
cool.
duplicate, is with very limited information of how to make. So, I wouldn't expect that to taste just like how Lu Yu's time the tea would taste like. Just wanted to look at this, and you know what? When we first tried to boil and do the tea, we didn't thoroughly follow what's recorded in the Classic of Tea. And also, you know, once you read that in depth vis-a-vis before, maybe when we have this tea, it might feel different. So I was wondering if we ever want to, you know, try that again.
Yeah, maybe do a
Pretty
video
fun.
of that, a redo.
Right.
You know, those kind of teas also show kind of the spirit of the producer. I really like that they're, you know, it's a fun tea. It's a fun to try kind of project, right? They don't have detailed processing instructions. They got to kind of just put themselves out there and make something kind of cool and different.
Yes.
Jubajia, better late than never. Indeed. Welcome.
Indeed.
Welcome. We're just diving into the core content.
Yes.
And I guess I'm going to repeat this a lot, but again, we're drinking a gifted tea, gifted by Wu Juanong's son, who is the author of the classic of tea. I can't remember the commentary and narrative and commentary. I sometimes get those two mixed up, but that's the title of which is the de facto Chinese translation of Lu Yu's classic of tea. Sometime before 1989, Zhen Puerh.
Yeah.
Not a mix, a pure ZhenTea pu'er.
Yeah.
And
the color was impressive.
Yeah, it still is. Like just this little bit of liquor is so deep red with kind of golden edges.
That's usually how the color is when it reaches that age. Just want to quickly mention the tea, how the pu'er is processed at that time and this currently is different. So you would have tea that ages much faster. So you will see the modern teas at 5-10 years you could reach a deeper color vis-a-vis the real tea from the decades ago. Age seems so slow because of the process.
That's a great point because it's all ZhenTea pu'er, so you think, oh, ZhenTea pu'er, ZhenTea pu'er, ZhenTea pu'er, they're all the same. No, they're not. The process has kind of evolved over time, which is the beautiful thing about tea, but just something to keep on your mind.
So today is actually a collection of 4 chapters in one because of the last chapters are pretty interesting for people who are interested in those domains, but not overly. Personally, I found not overly interesting if you just want to look at how Tang Dynasty people enjoy tea or how Lu Yu proposed the tea brewing method. So in chapter 7 was talking about history. So this history is not a storytelling history. I consider that a little bit like a literature review without making everything into a big connected paragraph. So it's literally lists down all the literatures that contain tea, the character, or relative to how people enjoy tea. It's
a very listy chapter, right?
Listy.
It starts with a big list of names and dives into a big list of tea references from history.
Yeah.
From Lu Yu's perspective, though, right? So history from 1,200 years ago, it was history.
Right.
That's
it's
pretty profound.
Wow.
Right? It's pretty. When I was working on the, posting the translation, I was pretty impacted by that. I was like, wow, this is a historical. It's a current day historian's goldmine to find, at least if you don't have the first hand, you have a reference to these works. Now you know what to look for.
That's one of the importance of that chapter for tea. People who study this tea history or stuff is a lot of the books or poems and stuff that he mentioned has totally lost. So the reference was from him. So that was very valuable. And in this chapter, he touched on medical history, poem and literature kind of thing, and some are, how do you call that? Explanatory books, means,
like the manuals.
Not manual. For example, like a very authoritative book of explaining Shakespeare to people.
Oh.
So he also includes that category. That's not quite like a tool books, but it has that flavor, help people learn.
Right.
Anyway.
Almost like a textbook.
Yeah. A little bit of that flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, then geography and some other categories. So it's pretty broad. And in his time, think about 1,200 years ago, that's really hard in terms of, publications and how are books, those kind of things preserved. So it's look at all the documents that he has collected. It is very hard and very detailed work.
I never even thought about that.
Right? There's
no printing press.
No printing. Everything is handwritten.
Transcription.
Yeah, and of course, look at that in terms of content. We also notice it's also missing certain elements, like talking about commerce. Right, how the tea trade was working at that time, we don't know much, but obviously people are doing business based on all the texts we use. There are people trading tea, but how exactly does that work? what's the price of tea, right? If we look at in England in the 17th century, we know, okay, 1 pound of tea is a common, like, regular people's 2 years of living cost. That's really expensive, right? But we don't really know much about what's going on at that time with the tea price.
Right.
So one of the reasons that you would notice that a lot when you read Chinese ancient texts or books, that a lot of commerce stuff, trading stuff is not mentioned because it's in all societies, trading is something considered not very encouraged. It's actually bad. Farmers are the best, I mean, the reason being because of the limited production level. One person, if I'm not producing, but I'm just making money out of what you produce and he produce,
right?
For the overall country's economy, understandably, is not very desirable.
The contact,
right?
Surplus wasn't a big thing.
Yes.
There was
till you have like the industrial that a certain person plus a machine, I can produce hundreds of thousands of something. So then you need a businessman to distribute. Yeah. So it's depends on the economy, the whole production ability at that time.
If things were good at this time, everybody ate. If things weren't good, not everybody ate.
You need people to be on the land. So that's one of the reasons. This kind of contents are left out or not even mentioned in not just the Luyu, throughout the history about tea book, those are not mentioned much too. So just want to mention that.
Yeah, that's cool, because there was a single reference to somebody in this chapter, in chapter 7,
this is cold smell,
who got the tea and sold it. It was actually mentioned, just one of them. That's it. So rich.
Right? The cold and the hot smell.
Oh boy. Wow. Oh boy. Okay, let's have a little peek at that. I should be showing the brewing. Let me get that in there. Quick like a bunny. Look at that. Look at that liquor color.
And this is 6-7-ish infusion. Yeah.
Wow.
This. Sure.
Damn, look at that.
Yeah, that's
ruby.
Yeah, and the clarity.
Yeah.
See how the.
Yeah, it's not turpid at all. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Take a minute break.
Consistent,
I was
like
just
said,
about to
right?
say
It's
the consistency is so impressive. Like you have maybe a stronger aroma when it's hot, but when it's cold, it's still very reliable.
Right, the color has been consistent.
Yeah.
The flavor is consistent. Nothing's coming in and dropping out. Like none of the notes are changing. That cohesive, balanced.
Right.
Texture that I mentioned at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I can try to describe it, right, with maybe sort of an antique paper and exotic woods, and
sometimes you have tea that is quite good in the first 1, 2, 3 infusions, or something that's sudden crush. This is like
not a sudden crash. No, it's gonna go for
very consistent. Wow, and I have been like just wanted to show the amount I have here is a little bit not much, right? But I have been doing almost like a flush infusion.
Look at that dark little residue.
How can I make
liquor.
that? It's really
hard.
dark.
It's very contrasty,
really
so it's not going to
yeah.
grab the dark to focus.
Yeah. Anyways, I love having a good tea. It's
boy. Yeah, it's really uplifting. It's just.
Okay. Nobody commented about our shirt is matching today somehow. Last time we got
because they're black. I think
black?
When black matches, it's just.
Do you know why we wear black?
Shh! Don't tell them.
because it's coming up.
It's coming up.
Next chapter. So after talking about the history, so Lu Yu talked about the
great chapter.
Yes, tea production regions, and that
So
are
interesting.
based on where he has been and the materials he has collected, as well as some samples he had been received from people and rating based on that. The locations in the textbook are ancient. A lot of names, if you recognize that we're still using today, are different areas than what it is, even though they're identical name. And more of those are names that we don't use anymore. So I'm just gonna quickly run you through with the map to show roughly where the tea production is in Tang Dynasty. And
so I've highlighted all the little tea production regions. They're indicated with a cute little tea leaf.
Yeah.
And I highlighted them green to help them pop.
right, all those that he had mentioned.
I want to just echo something Greg said in the chat, which is that the number of infusions make expensive teas cheap in the end. And I think that's really interesting, whether or not they
What
end.
does that mean?
Well, you get so much mileage out of a great tea that if you're super into it, you could calculate your cost per milliliter, and it will be pretty not too bad. And not only that, it is a characteristic of great tea to that's in general great tea. Shameless plug, many of which you can get on our website, regardless of the value. But the higher value ones, that's a great thing to keep in mind when you're kind of like just hesitating before you press that buy now button.
A lot of times people feel like, oh, why is this tea so expensive? But if you compare, especially by how much you can brew and stuff, compared to wine and a lot of other beverages we drink, this is not that expensive. It's just because our expectation for that is, 50 cents for 20 tea bags.
Yeah, so you get this great value cost per mil, not to mention your experience is going to be profoundly improved, which is a lot harder to measure. So,
right.
Okay, enough said about that.
Anyway, so this map that's showing on the screen is a map of where Tang Dynasty produces tea, which might be, if you're familiar with the China map, what's going on? But if we overlay the China map, the current China map, just to give you a little bit reference of where it is. It's not very accurately overlaid, but just the concept.
Different scales and stuff. I did my best here, folks.
Right. So
maybe we'll shoot up to
we're gonna
we can do something really fun now.
Here we go. That's why we're wearing black.
Now you know why we're wearing black. We're trying to get this gamma to pop.
We realize it doesn't show on the white background, so we have to get changed. So anyway, so just to give you a little bit reference, around here, I think, I might not be very, very accurate, but this is where, Shanghai is.
Yeah, that's
this is
right.
where, roughly here, the Beijing. This is Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan sticks out like a sword. And you can see the maps didn't quite match perfectly. It was really tricky.
But these are, Guangzhou area, Guangdong, Hong Kong area. So it's in that. So that's, have a little orientation here. That's roughly. So where he mentioned most of the stuff are in the belly of the map. We call that belly.
The belly of China,
Yeah, that's where he had mentioned in the book. And, if we talk about the Shannan area, it's pretty much like a Hubei, Hunan. You feel like a weather forecast. Hubei, Hunan, Shanxi, Sichuan area. That's if you go to the translation on our website, you see Shannan. That's where it is. Huainan area is Henan, Anhui, Hubei, Jiangsu, which is roughly. Okay. Oh, this way. Roughly.
It's tricky, huh?
This way.
You're doing great.
Just roughly here, okay. And the Zhexi region refers to Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Anhui, Jiangxi, roughly here-ish. Okay. And the Zhedong tea region is mostly like Zhejiang area. And the Jiannan area tea region is mostly, Sichuan area. That's Sichuan. But here
in the zone, I think.
Yeah. Right. And then he also had samples from Qianzhong, Jiangnan, Lingnan. Those are Oh, thank you. Those are like Guizhou, Sichuan, which is here-ish, you know, Hubei, Jiangxi, here-ish, here-ish. And Linnan means, you know, Fujian, Guangdong, Guangxi, south here. So just to say those ones on the website. Because I feel like if I put that in the text, it's too much.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So
and you know, we also try to keep the translation as true to the translation as possible. This is sort of a little, that's what the videos are all about, a little bit extra, a little bit of extra context, extra embellishment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to have a comparison with what he pointed out, and this is what current China's tea region is. We just find this online. We didn't do that ourselves. So majority of this map is pretty accurate. Those provinces that do produce tea. The northernmost tea is from Rizhao, Shandong province, but they're also expanding the tea regions. So that's a green tea in Shandong. And, you know, around that, the north. That's pretty much the north. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. And here you might not see it, but Gansu, because Gansu, we also often consider that northwest really dry, really, you wouldn't think about tea of that province, but they also produce tea. Here is a little tug that the climate somehow is very desirable. And what's this map missing is here in the Tibetan area, okay, in the south. So they're also expanding a lot of tea regions there. So the tea growth region has been expanded from compared to the previous map, but in general, still in a very this one somehow didn't mark, also tea region,
right?
And
obviously,
yeah. So it's expanding, but it still has the northmost limit there in terms of temperature, water, humidity. But of course, depending those microclimate, maybe certain areas could maintain a tea garden or stuff. But in terms of real tea production, tea just couldn't do over the north.
Right.
In the kind of in the northern hemisphere sense, I guess in the south hemisphere, tea could only go north.
Could only go so far south. And then it wouldn't be viable in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah,
it just flipped, you know.
Yeah.
It's got to be kind of tucked in the middle, warm enough, but ideally with cold winter, it's kind of interesting. A hotter climate isn't necessarily better, right?
Right. So and in the ninth chapter is a.
Wait, I want to show them something that I found
super
interesting about chapter 8. Just before we move on, is he goes through all the regions, and then this is the chapter, right? He ranks them, which I thought was cool.
Oh, yeah.
But really, really hard to digest in, because it's just written out in prose. So I made a cool little chart, and I put it at the bottom of the chapter 8 page, which you can find in the links down below. And I kind of sorted out what he said. And he ranks them sort of best to sort of worst, with a few variations on, low, worse, and worst. And he relativizes them by referencing, Ya Zhou is similar to whatever I don't remember exactly what he said, but that's how he kind of lined up, who are the worst and who are the worst and blah, blah, blah and all this. So I thought I'd just give you a quick look at what's the deal, because it was a little bit, it was a big word salad of who's good and who's not good. So.
Pretty cool. And honestly, not as much of a reference to us. First, he only see the location, but exactly what kind of tea they're doing and stuff is really missing. So I don't feel like I learned a lot. I only know where they produce tea, but in terms of what exactly is he evaluating, like what tea he tasted, I don't know. So yeah, it's sort of like a monolithic style, which is the Tang Dynasty tea, which I get, but you have to imagine there had to be some variations from locale to locale. It would have been very interesting. And he even mentions at the end of the chapter that there's a bunch of regions that he doesn't really rank. He just says tea is from here, and here. I've had some pretty good. Because he didn't.
He kind of remind me of modern day tea vendors. He said, I get teas from there all the time and they're pretty good.
Yeah, but I think that's personally, I think that's the right way to do it. If you haven't been there, haven't have a big enough sample size, you only got gifted a few ways, and taste it, they will taste good. But how good, how to rate it, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Most of the places that he mentioned it in the book, he actually was there. He traveled quite a lot in those regions. So.
Which in and of itself is something pretty amazing in that time. No high-speed train. Oh, this is amazing.
Can you tell the color? It started to get light. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wow, I haven't had the ZhenTea so old for a long time.
Yeah, same here.
This winter we're gonna dip in some really good puer. Okay, if you guys are aged puer lovers, stay tuned. We're gonna post more aged puer.
Oh boy.
Aged, real aged puer. Okay, so that's chapter 7 and chapter 8. Chapter 9 is an interesting one. It's called Simplify. And I think the ending might throw people off a little bit, because he was talking about when you're outdoor, you can eliminate this, that. But if you're in the city, in the noble's home, like in the home, if you're missing one, that is not tea. Like, what's this kind of a huge difference in attitude? So first of all, he is very known among the friends, by his friends as writings and poems recorded that Louis loves to go out in the wild several days, Canadian spirit.
Right, outback camping.
Yeah, outback camping. Several days come back. So for sure, he has tons of experience having tea outdoors and enjoy those moments. And he has many poems talking about those, which is, romantic. He really enjoyed that romantic moment of tea. That's, I think, actually we love, and we often encourage people to go out and have
I
tea.
didn't want to interrupt, but I really would encourage everybody to get out there with your tea. If you're not a real outdoorsy camping person, that's fine. Go to your little park, just pack up your little set and go to your park. Like, just it's something, to get out and enjoy tea.
Yeah, it is for sure. And ever since we started the business, we always carry a travel tea set, right? When we first started, we also did travel tea set. I have to say, when we first started, that was really hard to sell. Not many people, it's not foreign, but it wasn't a popular concept. Many people are still looking at the Gaiwan and stuff. But in recent years, we found the travel tea set goes really well, and people really love that. All in one. You can brew at home. You can also travel. How handy is that?
Yeah, I think it's the evolution of the whole culture. First, it was just, wow, there's this whole Gaiwan thing, and that's cool. And our habit is not to travel with porcelain and breakables, right? But traveling with Zhen Wu and Jen in China, like every time we stop at a train station, bus station, taxi station, anywhere, if we're stopped for 5 minutes, boom, we're brewing tea just like that. And Zhen Li often doesn't have a fancy travel set. She has her a little soft pouch with her stuff wrapped up in tea towels. Yeah. And she'll boom, pull that out. Simplify,
Never
right?
hesitate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So get out there and have fun with your tea. People watching in a city, in a park can be fun.
Yeah.
In the Rocky Mountains, we tried it. We can tell you firsthand, it's awesome. It's fun.
Yes. Yeah. But he is really picky. If you're having that in the city, do you feel like you have to have everything? So let me explain why he says that. Yeah. He's not like you have to have all those. It's not a kind of a formalism. Okay, we pay attention only to all the tools and stuff. He specified that in cities and in the rich nobles, upper class home, you cannot miss. It's not about do you have everything. It's about how much do you pay attention to tea. Because he also really said you cannot just drink tea in the summer, but not drink in the winter. That's also not tea, right? Like basically, is overall he proposed an overall tea life, a real tea life everywhere. So in the city, you're like, okay, that's 1,000 years ago, and you ask people to have all those 21 different tea tools and missing one. Is that harsh? No. When it comes to food, when it comes to eat, Chinese is one of a kind. Even early times when the Western, priests come to China in their books to bring home, they record it. These people are extremely into food. It's one of a kind, I have to say, right?
Yeah.
We talk about France and stuff, but Louis XIV.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he is a very famous extravagant lifestyle. So he has like 7 departments in his kitchen with 324 people recorded and stuff, and that's the 17th, 18th century.
Mm-hmm.
But in China,
and that was astounding. It was like, wow, look at how cultured and foodie he is.
Yes. And,
However,
but in China, in Zhou dynasty, which is about 3,000 years ago, when they established the country, there are 20 departments in the kitchen recorded 2,294 people working in the kitchen. And kitchen staff, they have their own ranking. Their ranking is pretty high, considered like, say, the police department, the head of the police department in Ottawa. That's a medium level ranking government server, government worker, civil server, right? And they're specialized. If you're doing cured meat like salamis or smoked meat, that's all you do. There are other people who prepare pasta sauce, just for example, but pasta sauce and stuff. Right. Another group of people in charge of preparing the fruit and stuff, and another. Anyway, that's 3,000 years ago. And anyway, this lineage, I can talk a lot about our food history, but this lineage, we're extremely into food. In that kind of a background, if you have tea for Louis' time, if you have tea and you're like, okay, we can simplify. No, that only means, especially in the upper class, that only means you don't care. So that what he emphasizes is not about you cannot miss a tool, it's about how much you care. And for those upper classes who have time, who have money, if you care, it's not hard. And it's
in
easy
the simplified chapter existed more as to how do you travel with all of this stuff, because what's the total number of tools? It's immense, right? I think he scaled it down to 9 or 10 that you still need to travel with, and he said just throw them in a Zulu or whatever that's called, a little bag or something. I don't know. It says read it down there.
Read it.
I can't remember what it's called, but but it was practical. It was a practical consideration.
Yeah, but it was to simplify a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Lots of cool questions. Let me sum them up for you. One came in earlier, quite a while, asking about Wu Yi when we were on chapter 8.
Okay.
Which would have been a different thing, and it's sort of related to a more recent question, which asks about Lu Yu and would he have experienced Dancong, and I think both are kind of similarly answered, right?
Yeah, no. He didn't have a chance to experience Dancong. First, when we talk about Dancong, we're talking about nowadays the Dancong tea, like that process. He never tasted oolong tea. Second, if you mean just the tea plant from there, he mentioned that he had samples from there. Which samples, I don't know. So it's possible he had from that kind of a tea plant, which according to him, he knows that in the Nan area, they also produce tea. Yeah, and in that time in China, actually, the current Guangdong, Guangxi, Fujian province is not as developed. It's a very underdeveloped because the thick forest, rainforest and mountains and stuff. It's a less developed area. Very, very hard to get to there. If you are official and you piss off the emperor, and the emperor might say, okay, now go south, go there. It's not like how today we think about go Hainan for the vacation, go Guangdong to have a development.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that aspect. So basically, that's so interesting. But yeah, the tea back then was not like this. The process was totally different, and they didn't have the 6 tea types and whatnot.
Yeah.
And A Too Easy had a really practical question about getting out in nature with tea or getting out there with tea, and that is that keeping water hot, which is always challenging.
We have a video sharing our travel thermos.
Yeah, so
right?
there's two answers to that. One is you just settle with the compromise. And keep it as hot as you can and maybe don't bring your super best tea. The other one is we are not sponsored by Zoji Rushi, but we should be. If you're watching, Zoji Rushi, sponsor us.
We love their product.
Holy cow, I've
Really
never
good.
seen a thermos that is so efficient. So you can actually make a pretty good tea with that. And of course, the third and most complicated solution is bring a little stove. Not possible if you're in an urban setting or in a train station. Obviously, you're not going to spark up and boil water.
Right.
Actually, we figured that out too. More on that in a moment. But we have a gas stove that we use in the wild, which is very great. Super quick, hot water, boil it on the spot, wham bam, make a tea. We also found a thermos, but they're not, I don't think you'll be able to find it here, but in China we got a plug-in thermos that will boil water for us, so we can actually boil water in a train station. Quite slow, but it works.
Yeah.
So those are a few options there.
That's all you want to smell at. That's why I was like, yeah. So, wow, I think that is all the content I wanted to share about classic tea. A final summary.
Come on, you got to talk about chapter 10, the cutest chapter in the whole book, bar none.
Skip.
It's like 3 lines. So if you're really into tea, this is also back to kind of about the nobles. If you're in the nobles' time, if tea is really important to you, you got to paint out on several sheets. And I say paint, like calligraphy, Chinese character. Oh, sorry, I should be going like this too, and maybe like this, I forget. Anyway, the whole classic of tea, and hang it on the wall in front of your tea table so that as you enjoy tea, that is chapter 10. I just love this guy. You.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow.
I personally skipped that because it's like, I don't even know how.
Oh, and Greg for the traveling tea. We're really into traveling with tea, so I love your inputs and questions. Greg said just use a Gaiwan to keep it simple. Another great option, right? Just bring a little bit of tea, bring a Gaiwan, and just sip straight from the Gaiwan. Totally great option to keep it simple, and you can go almost anywhere with tea if you keep it that scaled down. Yeah,
for sure. That's a great idea. Just to quickly summarize, because we always talk about Lu Yu and the classic of tea. His success of being the first person who write a dedicated book on tea, of course he loves tea and he is a dedicated learner to actually collect and travel and experiment with tea. That's a very important part. But there is some fundamental. If you imagine he was born like 200 years earlier. That time it didn't have the air in the society, It's not like a splash, right? So it's at that time very important that the tea plant itself has traveled to a lot of regions in China, and so people are not very foreign about that. Then the upper class is into that, then the common people can actually drink tea. This whole area with his, summarize, and his work could make a splash.
It was kind of like the perfect storm of tea.
The perfect timing made Lu Yu. I don't want to downplay how much hard work he put there, but just want to mention that the time really mattered. And after him, there are tons of dedicated books in tea with lots of more detailed, even in terms of a value. At some point, it could even pass it. In terms of knowledge value, could even pass what Lu Yu put in his book. But being the first one is the toughest one. And for me, I learned a lot. Believe it or not, like when I prepare that and have a visual conversation, like read your comments and the stuff, also helped me navigate how to prepare those. I learned a lot. And as a Chinese, a lot of time we say, we come from a really ancient country with a 5,000 years old history and stuff. You don't feel that much, but we're literally the only ancient civilization that passed down with not without a breakage. Very interesting. And when I was preparing this book, that really reminds me of that. Because, you know, all those tools, tea tools in the book that he wrote, I said that before, in Mandarin, when I read it, those are foreign things. I don't recognize any of those. But when I say that in my dialect, I realize that those are the tools that decades ago we were still using, or with some certain
form of it had made it.
Yeah, you know, that's 1,000 years down. And another interesting thing, like how we talk, especially in dialects. Like in my dialect, we call the pinyin, the Mandarin character grandpa, grandpa, in us, that means father in our dialect. We call our dad which is the same as in Tang Dynasty. You know, like so if you read Tang Dynasty books and they say grandpa, the character, it actually doesn't mean grandpa, it means father. You know, those kind of things that
twist.
Because the dialect is more organic and passed down and stuff, has the lineage there, that I was realizing, wow, that's quite incredible.
You're like connected to that.
Yeah.
You see a real connection to that, you know, not in the Mandarin side. The Mandarin side is really new and fresh and got turned up a lot.
Yeah, because Mandarin is really new, right? It's barely around 100 years old. So it's really new and it's really northern evolved and defined. So, but this one is make me feel like, geez, we do have a long history. Interesting, eh?
Yeah, and for me, learning about Lu Yu and, you know, the kind of tea lover that he was, and the kind of, you know, like we were talking today about how your attention about tea, your care of tea, your love of tea, it really reminds me of Zhen, your mom. When we go on tea trips, the type of people that we're connected with are those people, you know, who go to the pain of trying to reproduce a Tang style tea, or who go to the pain of saying, look, I've got this great material, I want to push it to the next level. It's not just about the market. It's not just about getting, and it's not about that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also about pushing the tea to those levels that are just like mind-blowing, sort of like the tea we're sipping right now.
Yeah, for sure. I just quickly want to mention the color. This is, like I said, it's a full ZhenTea and aged, and you know,
full meaning it's not a mixture. It wasn't uncommon back then to blend Shen and Shu, just so people know what's going on.
Yeah, so this is a fully Shen, and if you are having an aged tea, many like a regular tea drinker wouldn't be able to differentiate aged tea. If you are having a real aged ZhenTea, the more you brew, you notice the color gets
golden. It starts to go
it
back.
First, it has more reddish tone compared to just Puerh. And then as you brew, the tone starts to change. The red starts to diminish gradually. And
amber starts to amber up.
This is like a lot of infusion I have been doing. I'm expecting at least over 20 infusion with even though a small amount of tea. And by the very end, I will post a picture probably on Instagram or something about when it's done. When ZhenTea, no matter how old it is, how aged it is, when it's done, it goes back. The liquor color goes back to the initial ZhenTea color, which means light gold. A lot of fake teas, because they're super mixing to make the liquor color or stuff like that, in the end, they still have the reddish
woody
tone.
flavor.
Yeah.
All right, that one you can take to the bank, folks. That is a pro tip right there.
Yep.
Guys, that wraps up season 2. Season 2 of The Classic of Tea, Sunday Tea Book Season 2, The Classic of Tea by Lu Yu. Thank you to you guys for hanging out with us and providing so much great questions and suggestions and everything. This has been fantastic. Who knows what we're going to do next, but stay tuned for...
Yeah, and if you have any specific either books or just topics, any topics or areas you want to learn more about, be sure to comment below or let us know through any of the
website, social media, comment
anything
down below.
So we can look into that.
If you like this kind of content, take a minute right now, reach down on the YouTube Subscribe to the channel so you'll know when we go live. We did an impromptu live just a couple days ago out in the wild. I'm going to try and duplicate that a little bit more as we go forward. So yeah, hit that subscribe button and check out our website for all your tea needs. We have, you know, as is probably apparent at this point, we love really good tea, whether it's a, you know, the whole spectrum's there. Check it out and enjoy tea. And until next time,
Keep
keep
steeping.
steeping.